Hi YouTube, my name's Colin and this is my 2008 Dodge Charger. This was an auction buy. I got it for $750 plus auction fees. Pretty nice. Not any real damage to the body. Sorry about the lighting in here, it's pretty bad. Overall, it's a pretty clean car. It did have some undercarriage damage. It had a little bit of damage to the transmission cross member, and also the exhaust was smashed in one spot. So I've already had that stuff fixed. I picked up a used transmission cross member at a junkyard, and when I brought the car to the exhaust shop to have a little section of exhaust replaced, I just had them bolt that on. The one other problem that it had was it made a lot of noise in the front end when I would drive over bumps. So I ended up replacing the front struts with maxpeedingrods coilovers, and unfortunately I didn't videotape putting the front ones on. I tried to match the height of the original struts as closely as I could. They were actually a hair shorter, but after I was done, I think it's because of the spring rate is different with the coilovers compared to the struts. It didn't really lower the car any. So today what I'm gonna do is take off the wheels and attempt to lower the struts a little bit, or the coilovers a little bit farther. So let me get it jacked up and get the wheels off, and I'll get back with you guys. So here's an important step before you start, is you're gonna wanna measure from a given place. I'm choosing to measure from the top of my center cap to my wheel well, and except for all the ice on there, it looks like I'm at about 15 3/4. And it looks like I could come up maybe an inch, inch and a half. So that's what I'm going to shoot for. We can go measure the other side too while I'm at it, I guess. Top of the center cap to the wheel, I'm at 15 and a half. So let me get the wheel off here, get it jacked up, and I'll come back to you guys again. So in the kit this came with, these are two-way adjustable shocks, meaning you can adjust the height of the shock itself, the height of the ride, by threading the body of the shock into this lower housing. And you can adjust the spring preload up here. Now to lower this without undoing that down there, and not even so much that, it's actually that right there, my sway bar linkage, because that just ends up spinning inside of the ball joint. On this side, it's hard to see right now because of the darkness. My plan is to take the spanner wrench and loosen this And then loosen the other nut here, which is kind of hard to do with one hand, until there's no preload left on these springs. See how this spring itself is turning now? We're getting close. Once I get this spring tension off, I'm going to adjust this nut right here up an inch, which is what I want to lower the car. It's actually going to go a little bit farther because of where the placement of this is on the A-arm. But I'm going to loosen this. Anyways, I'll loosen this nut up to where I want to stop at, which will be an inch. And then I will move it using this upper nut. Once it tightens down onto this locking nut, I should be able to twist the body down into this housing down here. Alright, so now what I've done is I loosened up this nut right here. I took my measuring guide, I measured it to 1 inch from the shock body, and then I've loosened the spring up, and I've got these two nuts together. Now I think I should be able to tighten these two nuts together and then turn this one down in, and it'll spin the body of the shock. We'll see. So what I ended up having to do here was actually use this pipe wrench and get it around the body and twist it in. And because I saw that the whole hub assembly seemed to be moving up fairly quickly, I ended up only doing 7/8 on this side. The other side I plan on doing the same 7/8. We'll see how that goes. That one was a 1/4 inch different to begin with, so I might end up going just under 7/8 on that side. But now what I've got to do is tighten this back up until my spring has some tension on it. So right now I'm tightened back up where it's just, there's no play really left in it. And from here I'm going to go 1 full spin of this top nut, and then I'm going to lock the bottom nut to it. And that was how I originally had set the preload. And it seemed to ride pretty good. So I'm going to stick with that. Hopefully I didn't just lower the car too far. I still would like some suspension travel. The roads around here are very rough. So now I'm on the driver's side, and I'm going to do the same thing again, except for this time I'm going to loosen this nut here, and I'll only be moving it up 7/8 of an inch. Because that's what I did on the last side. I started out with 1 inch, But when I saw it start moving, I ended up only going 7/8. Now, I wish I had filmed install. They were actually pretty easy up here. There's the 3 strut tower bolts. You just take those off from under the hood, and you have your bolt down here, and then you have your sway bar linkage back here. The only other thing I had to do out of the ordinary was to get it out, the old strut. I actually had to put a piece of angle iron, it's hard to see in there, but under that piece of frame onto this arm, and I had to have my uncle step on it to move this down, the whole hub down far enough to where I could snake the old one out. Once the old one was out, I basically measured from the top hat of it to the center of this bolt hole and tried to match it as good as possible. Now here's something that was kind of concerning in the beginning, was these wouldn't go long enough. The shock or the coilover itself wouldn't, there was no way. If I threaded this out far enough to make it the same length, there was like 1 thread of the body inside of this. So I ended up shortening it like 1.5 inches to begin with. And I think because of the difference in the coil strength compared to the old coilover when it was compressed, it didn't lower it at all. Actually, it was pretty much exactly the same ride height, even though from this bolt hole down here to the hat, measured on both, was 1.5 inches shorter. It ended up coming out exactly the same. So I'm gonna back this nut off. I'm gonna line this up. I'm gonna try to see 7/8 of an inch. A little bit farther. That's it. All right, so this spring is loose. Now all I gotta do is get my pipe wrench on here and spin this down. Yeah, I can't do it one-handed, but basically I spin the body of this shock until this right here goes down to that. So now it's all adjusted back down. This is tightened up here. Basically what I'm going to do now is, you see how there's a little bit of play here? You can hear it. Basically, I turn it till I can't turn it easily by hand. And then from there, I'm going to spin this top one 9 times, or 9 teeth, I guess. Not 9 full times, but just 9 teeth. That's 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. And then I got my 9 partial turns there. I bring that one up to it, and I start tightening I should really be holding this upper one with the other wrench while I do this, but as long as it doesn't start spinning, it'll be okay. So there we go. Now I can put my wheel back on, lower the car, and measure it up again. So before I did this, I measured from the top of my center cap to here to my wheel well, and I was 15 3/4. Now it looks like I'm 14 3/8. This side, same measurement, 14 1/4. So I'm pretty close there. I'm pretty happy with that. It looks like I have 2 finger widths above this tire, which should be plenty of suspension. As you can see, it really didn't take a whole bunch of tools. I mean, really all I needed was my 22 millimeter to loosen up my lug nuts. And the 2 wrenches and a pipe wrench. The 2 wrenches, that came with the kit. Now, when I put these on originally, I took it for a test drive afterwards, and I was honestly very impressed with the quality of the ride, even though it was a little lowered. I expected to lose quite a bit of ride quality, and honestly, I didn't see any loss in ride quality. It ended up fixing the noise that I had in the front end. I had a bad strut, and replacement struts for just the front were $150, and I believe I picked up the whole kit for the fronts and the rears with the 2-way adjustable coilovers. 2-way adjustable coilovers, height and spring rate for $300 something. It was actually a pretty good deal, and I was pretty happy with the overall product. So now I'm going to take it for a test drive and let these struts settle, because from everything I've read, they will settle a little bit. So my 2-finger gap could end up being a little bit smaller. But as you can see, the wheels pretty well tuck up into the fenders. I guess if I had to, I could roll the fenders. I don't really want to do that, but I don't think I'd have to go very far if I did. So I'm going to take my auction charger for a test drive. I will get back with you guys. So here's my $750 Dodge Charger. As you can tell, it runs pretty good. It does have a check engine light on. It says the O2 sensor is bad. I've tried to reset it. It comes right back. I think it might be because the exhaust pipe was smashed. It was just reading real bad. And once I start driving it a little bit, it might go away. But I don't really know. But as you can see, there's a full hand width there on the rear tires that I haven't done yet. And on the front, well, it's nearly tucked. I think the front looks really good. As soon as I have a little bit more time, I'm gonna make a video on doing the rear. So the rear might be a little bit harder to do. If you look, the rear is actually a few different pieces. You see you have the rear strut, or the rear shock, and then the spring, and it's separate. The spring goes into the lower A-arm and into its own little pocket, and it's got this little adjustment piece right here that adjusts the height or the spring preload. And then this, like the coilover, has the adjustment on the housing. Like I said, I'll be getting to that as soon as I get a little bit more time to do it. Thank you guys for watching. Please subscribe. Yeah, leave me a comment. Let me know what you thought about the video. Let me know what I should do better. Obviously, I need a better camera. The cell phone doesn't work real great for the videos. I'll see you guys in the next video.